You know what's funny about human beings? We spend thousands of rupees on skincare. We buy the fanciest soaps. We set reminders to shower. We panic if we miss one day. But what if I told you there was a man, a real man, not a character in a horror movie, not some fictional villain, a real breathing human being who didn't shower for 60 years, 60 full years. And he didn't just survive. He lived to 94 years old. But here's the part that will mess with your head completely. The one day he finally took a bath, he died. Just weeks later, gone. I'm not making this up. I'm not exaggerating for views. This actually happened in 2022. His name was Amou Haji, and trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to be questioning everything you think you know about the human body. Stay with me. This one is worth every second. What's up everyone, welcome back to Mr. Shahzaib, and if you are new here, first of all, where have you been, and second of all, hit that subscribe button right now, because we tell the kind of stories here that your school never taught you and your news channels are too boring to cover. Alright, let's go all the way back, August 20th, 1928. In a tiny quiet village called Deja, located in the Fars province of southern Iran, a baby boy was born. Now nobody in that village had any idea that this little child would one day become the most talked about man on the entire planet. He had no idea either. He was just a kid, growing up in rural Iran. Simple life, simple dreams. And like every young person, he had hopes. He had feelings. And at some point, he fell in love. Yeah, this story starts with a heartbreak, because according to locals and Iranian media who covered his life extensively, Amou Haji faced what they called a serious emotional setback in his youth. He loved someone, and that someone didn't love him back. Or maybe they did and something went terribly wrong. We don't know the full details.
He never spoke about it much, but whatever happened, it broke him completely. And I mean completely, because most of us, when we go through heartbreak, we eat too much. We text people we shouldn't.
We listen to sad songs at 2 a.m. We eventually get over it. But Amou Haji, he looked at the world and said, I'm done. He walked away from society, from people, from everything. And he went to live, completely alone. Now here is where I need you to pause for a second and actually think about this. Because the decision he made next is something that no doctor, no psychologist, and honestly no normal human being can fully explain. He decided he was never going to bathe again, not because he forgot. Not because he was mentally unwell in the traditional sense, but because somewhere in that broken heart and that isolated mind, he developed a belief, a genuine, deeply held belief, that soap and water would make him sick, that cleanliness was dangerous. And once that belief locked into his brain, nothing could shake it. Okay, real quick, I have to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly in the comments. What is the longest you have ever gone without a shower? Be honest. Nobody is judging. This is a safe space. Drop your number below, because I promise you, whatever you say, Amou Haji still wins by about 60 years. So now let's talk about how this man actually lived day to day. Because this is where the story goes from interesting to absolutely unbelievable. He didn't have a house. He literally dug a hole in the ground and lived in it. Like an animal. By choice. The locals eventually felt so sorry for him that they built him a small brick shack to shelter in. And he accepted it, but only barely. Now let's talk about the food, because oh boy, Amou Haji did not eat fresh food. He didn't cook. He didn't go to markets. He survived by eating dead animals he found on the road, roadkill, and his absolute favorite meal was rotting porcupine meat. Not fresh porcupine, rotting, decomposing, stinking porcupine. That was dinner. And the water situation was somehow even worse. You'd think, okay, at least the man drinks clean water, right? Wrong. He drank from puddles. From rusty old cans that had been sitting in the dirt. Up to 5 liters a day. From a rusty can. Doctors who later looked at him couldn't believe his kidneys still functioned. And then there's the smoking. This man smoked. But not normal cigarettes. Well, sometimes cigarettes. He was actually photographed smoking 5 cigarettes at the same time. 5 simultaneously. But his main smoke of choice was a pipe, filled with dried animal dung. He would pack animal poop into a pipe, light it, and smoke it like it was a fine Cuban cigar. His skin was completely black with soot and grime. His hair was never cut with scissors. He burned it off with fire when it got too long. And to protect himself from the cold, he wore an old rusted war helmet. An actual war helmet on his head every day. One author who wrote about him described his face as caked in mustard brown earth and said that when he sat completely still in the desert, he looked exactly like a rock. He had literally become part of the landscape. Okay, I have another question for you, and this one is important. If someone offered you $1 million to go just one single year without showering, would you do it? Yes or no? Drop it in the comments right now. I'm genuinely curious because a part of me wants to say yes, and I'm not proud of that. Now here is the part of this story that even shocked the medical community. Because when doctors actually got access to Amou Haji and examined him properly, they expected to find a disaster. They expected infections everywhere, parasites, terminal diseases, organ failure, the works. But what they actually found was almost nothing. No major bacterial infections, no serious waterborne diseases, no life-threatening conditions from the rotting food. The only thing they found was a condition called trichinosis, which you can get from eating raw meat. But even that, he showed zero symptoms from. Zero. His body had it, and didn't even care. Doctors sat back and said this man has built one of the most powerful immune systems ever recorded in a living human being. His body had spent decades being attacked by every possible threat, every bacteria, every parasite, every toxic substance you can imagine. And instead of dying from it, his immune system just kept adapting, kept fighting, kept winning, year after year after year. For 6 decades straight, the human body is honestly terrifying in the best possible way. Here's a fun one for you. If you could have a superhuman immune system that meant you never got sick ever again, but the only catch was you could never shower again, would you take that deal? Genuinely think about it. Comment below. Because I feel like this comment section is about to be very divided. And now we reach the part of the story that honestly broke the internet when it came out. For over 60 years nobody could convince Amou Haji to take a bath. At one point some young men from the village actually tried to physically force him into a shower. He fought them off and ran away. This 90-year-old man ran away from soap and won. But in 2022 the villagers tried a different approach. They didn't force him, they sat with him, they talked to him, they spent time with him, and they told him something that clearly touched something inside him. They told him that the reason he had no friends, the reason people kept their distance, was because of the smell and the dirt. And that if he cleaned up, maybe people would come closer. And for the first time in 60 years, Amou Haji agreed. He took a bath. And just a few weeks after that, he got sick. And on October 23, 2022, Amou Haji passed away, peacefully, in the village of Deja. In the same province where he was born 94 years earlier, he had come into this world in that small corner of southern Iran, and he left it from the same place. Like the earth itself had been waiting for him to come home. Now doctors are careful to say that the bath alone did not necessarily kill him. He was 94 years old. His body had been through more in 9 decades than most humans could survive into lifetimes. But the timing is something no scientist can fully dismiss. Because this was a man whose entire immune system had been built around living dirty, around constant exposure to filth, around never being clean. And then suddenly, for the first time in 60 years, everything changed. His body was introduced to something completely foreign, cleanliness, and within weeks, he was gone. Last question for you, and this is the big one. Do you think the bath killed him, or was it simply his time? Drop your full theory in the comments because I want to read every single one. This might be the most interesting comment section this channel has ever had. So what do we actually take away from the life of Amou Haji? I've been thinking about this since I first came across his story, and honestly I keep landing in the same place. This man started as a young hopeful person just like you and me. He loved someone, he got hurt, and that pain sent him so far inward that he built an entire world around protecting himself from ever being hurt again. No people, No society, no connection, no cleanliness. Like if he just became invisible enough and touchable enough, nothing could ever reach him again. And in a way, nothing did. He lived 94 years completely on his own terms, dirty, alone, free, and bothered by the opinions of a world that thought he was crazy. A documentary was even made about his life in 2013 called The Strange Life of Amou Haji, and it was shown at the International Film Festival of Truth in Tehran. Because his life was the strangest truth anyone had ever filmed. Was it the right way to live? Probably not, but it was his way. And he held on to it until his very last breath. There is something quietly powerful about that, even if it smells terrible. If this story hit you differently, if it made you think even for just a second, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who would love stories like this one. And if you are not subscribed yet, then what are you doing? Seriously, hit subscribe right now and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Every week we come back with stories that are real, raw, and completely unforgettable. I'm Mr. Shahzaib. Thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.